Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2, and I'm starting to really like SF2 as well. Starfinder 2. SF2, that's what it is. So, Solarian. They are weird. Okay, so, like, the roleplay is theoretically like you will feel in tune with the universe, but only that which relates to stars. So it's sort of like you feel like a Jedi and that you have the inside track on what really matters spiritually. Stars exploding and the fire that is a star. Plasma fire. It's interesting that they feel like they're part of the universe, but really just like the physical manifestations of the universe. Like, I can't say that they would feel like a Jedi to me. Sort of like a materialistic Jedi. Is that a thing? I think his name's Darth Vader. For the Solarian, because it's a brand new class, I'm just going to be talking about what it's like at first level. I'm not going through all the feats, but I will go through the first level feats, because that's where we're all starting out right now, at the beginning. Perception. They get expert in perception. For saving throws, they have expert proficiency in reflex and will, and only trained in fortitude. For skills, they're trained in athletics. That should tell you something about the class. They are already strength-based, so they are not just going to be moving people through their gravity abilities, but they're going to be moving people physically too. So, sadly, you kind of want to pick a medium class for this, or medium ancestry for this class. I say sadly because Skittermander Solarian that wrestles people. Yeah. Alright. For attacks, they're only trained in simple weapons, martial weapons, and unarmed attacks. So even though they are not just a martial, but a melee martial, they're not insanely good at it. Like the operative. And for defense is trained in light armor, medium armor, and unarmored defense. You'll probably really want that medium armor, and as soon as you take an archetype with this, because remember you can take archetypes even though they're not included in the Starfinder 2 playtest book. Did I just become Southern? I would probably go with Sentinel or Champion, something that's going to bump up your armor a little bit, because these guys are in the thick of it, and they make enemies stay near them. Alright, I'll get to that. I know. It's interesting, though. Before we get started on Solarian, I'm going to read you the key terms section, because it matters. Attuned. You can't use abilities with the attuned trait while you're unattuned. Many attuned abilities require you to be specifically graviton-attuned or photon-attuned, while others can grant additional benefits based on your current stellar attunement. And there's only 2 possible attunements, and then unattuned. Cycle. This one's interesting. Actions with the cycle trait change your current stellar attunement to its opposite state. When you take such an action with this trait, you benefit from the additional effect of your current attunement if the action had the attuned trait, but once you complete the action, your attunement changes to its counterpart. So graviton attuned if you were photon attuned before taking the action, or vice versa. So like you're a stance dancer if you take these abilities. Disharmony. This is sort of the crappiest trait they have. Actions with the disharmony trait change your current stellar attunement to being unattuned, which means that you lose all of your manifestations, which means your solar flare goes bye-bye, your nimbus goes bye-bye, and your weapon disappears. That could suck hard. When you take such an action with this trait, you benefit from the additional effect of your current attunement if the action had the attuned trait, but once you complete the action, you become unattuned. The Solarians have a feature called Stellar Attunement. The stellar attunements are only these 3 options: graviton, unattuned, and photon. And photon is where you do light effects and fire damage, and graviton is all about doing bludgeoning damage and moving people around. Gravity. When a Solarian is in exploration mode, essentially you can be in any attunement state. They have an ability called Attunement Control. It has the exploration tag, and it says, while exploring, you have an attuned state of your choosing. If you attune as a free action when you roll initiative, you can select your attunement regardless of your stellar arrangement's favored attunement. And now I'll read you the ability that you would be using in combat. Attune. 1 action, frequency once per round. You steady your body and mind and attune yourself to your stellar focus. That would be the photon, graviton, or, well, it'd be one of those 2. If you are unattuned or not in your favored state, and the favored state is determined by your subclass, you become attuned to the favored attunement of your stellar arrangement. Stellar arrangement is the name of the subclass. You can also manifest any of your solar manifestations if they are currently dormant, and if you have the free hands to use them. Solar manifestations is just a fancy way of saying all the random shit this class can do. Yeah, hi, you want to own my mouse pad? I need that, though. Okay, it's yours. Hi. Yeah, you own it now. I'm going to skip right through 4 pages of the Solarian to get to the subclasses, because I think they'll define a little bit more clearly what the Solarian is all about, because you can only make 3 choices for your subclass. You either like gravity and black holes, or you like light and fire, or you like both. Alright, I'm going to start with Degradant. You embody the slow degradation of all things. It's also about void. There is a beauty in the dance of stars, and you watch it as eagerly as you watch the interplay between those who come into your orbit. Your favorite attunement of the 2, Graviton or Photon, is Graviton. Revelations. Not to be confused with Oracle Revelations. These revelations are just the abilities that you get at certain levels. So your first level ability, your initial revelation, is called Black Hole. So I'll read Black Hole. It has the traits Attuned, Cycle, and Solarian, frequency once per 10 minutes. Requirements: you are Graviton attuned. You concentrate on the gravitational forces around you, pulling matter towards you in emulation of a cosmic event. Select any number of creatures within a 30-foot radius, so your friends are safe. Each affected creature takes 1d8 bludgeoning damage and must attempt a fortitude save against your class DC. Almost everything is class DC for the Solarian. Critical success. The creature is unaffected. Success. The creature takes half damage and is pulled 5 feet towards you. So on a success, you still move them toward you. Failure. The creature takes full damage, is pulled 15 feet towards you, and is knocked prone. Critical failure. The creature takes double damage, is pulled 30 feet towards you, and is knocked prone. Like a kineticist, this increases in damage for every 2 levels. Or like a caster, basically, but whatever. So it does more damage the more you level. So this is the base ability of the subclass Degradant. So gravity is really going to be moving people toward you. That's the most commonly used thing. Each Solarian arrangement also gets 2 choices of what skill they want trained from their subclass. So for Degradant, it's Deception or Intimidation. Radiant. The light of a star shines more brightly than anything else in the cosmos, and you desire to shine just as brightly. As a follower of the Radiant Path, you channel that cosmic light into bursts of energy that manifest as flames or revitalizing photonic energy. There are few who understand the stellar fire of a star better than you, and you can channel that energy into personal enthusiasm, either by dedicating yourself to a profession or just having a radiant personality that appeals to others and makes you the center of attention. They really focused on the personality for Radiant. So the favorite attunement for Radiant is Photon, obviously, light. The arrangement skills that you can choose one of, Crafting or Diplomacy. So it's nice that you don't have to just choose Charisma based, like the last one. Revelation, initial, Supernova. So first level ability that you get is Supernova. It takes 2 actions. It has the Attuned, Cycle, and Solarian abilities. Traits. Cycle means that as soon as you use it, you cycle to a different attunement. Frequency, once per 10 minutes. Requirement, you are Photon attuned. You unleash your pent-up aggression, causing it to erupt like the stellar events that end stars. You can choose to affect creatures in a 15-foot or 30-foot emanation. Each affected creature takes 1d8 fire damage, and must attempt a fortitude save against your class DC. If you choose the 30-foot option, you instead deal 1d6 fire damage. Critical success. The creature is unaffected. Success. The creature takes half damage and is dazzled for 1 round. Which is really nice, because then it's harder to hit all of your allies. this also affects your allies. That kind of sucks. So, a failure on this saving throw. The creature takes full damage and is blinded for 1 round, which sucks a lot. Critical failure. The creature takes double damage and is blinded for a minute. Level +1, increase the damage by 1d8 or 1d6 for the 30-foot version. It's a good, useful ability. It's making a mini fireball. Just make sure that your friends aren't around in that area, because not because they're taking damage and you might kill them, but you know that sucks too. But because you would be keeping them from being able to target anything if they fail their save. So that sucks. The final Solarian arrangement, subclass, is balanced. You find yourself existing between the gravitic and photonic extremes of stellar forces. Those are fun to say, gravitic and photonic. Anyway, you find yourself existing between the gravitic and photonic extremes of stellar forces, believing that a balance between the two is where one finds perfection. This means that you often swap between attunements in your daily life and enjoy using graviton and photon abilities in an interweaved tapestry. Favorite attunement, graviton and photon. Choose which attunement you have outside of combat. And when using the attune action, you can select which attunement you wish to be. So you're going to have a default outside of combat, and then once combat starts, you just choose whichever one's going to be best for you in the situation. Arrangement skills, medicine or society. I like that they give medicine as an option, especially since it's balanced. It's like you're trying to be middle of the road, and healer fits that. So the initial revelation you get is Binaric Assault. It takes 2 actions. It has the Attuned, Flourish, and Solarian traits. You coordinate your attacks with both your Solar Flare and Solar Weapon. Make a strike with your Solar Weapon and a Solar Shot, so both melee and short range, each using your current multiple attack penalty and both at the same target. You can make these attacks in whichever order you desire. If an attack hits, resolve the damage and effects, then swap your current attunement. This counts as 2 attacks when calculating your multiple attack penalty. If both attacks fail to hit, you become unattuned. Okay. Alright. So that's really useful for doing extra damage in melee. Solar manifestations is really 3 things we're talking about. One of them is your Solar Flare, which is the light on your body that can do range damage, that's fire damage. Your Solar Weapon, which is a weapon that you manifest out of pure will. And Solar Nimbus is a layer of energy around you. So Solar Manifestation says, your deep understanding of the stellar forces of the universe manifests in a variety of tangible ways. You can create and maintain all 3 different manifestations, Solar Flare, a Solar Nimbus, and a Solar Weapon. Your manifestations temporarily vanish if you become unattuned. Solar Flare. A small mote of solar power hovers nearby or appears embedded on some part of your body, such as the palm of your hand or on your face. This flare of energy can unleash energy in a short range. Your solar flare is otherwise treated as a martial ranged weapon in the brawling weapon group. It gives you the ability Solar Shot. It has the attack trait Attuned and Solarian. You use your flare to unleash a directed blast of energy at a target. Make a ranged strike against the AC of a creature in range. Add your strength modifier to the damage roll. Your attunement determines the damage type and maximum range of the attack. So if you are graviton attuned, and remember, you can switch between them no matter what subclass you take. That one just, the subclass just gives you an additional ability based on the attunement type. And it also dictates what attunement you automatically go into in combat. So Solar Shot, if you are graviton attuned, this shot does 1d8 bludgeoning damage and it has a range of 15 feet. On a critical success, you can attempt a trip using your athletics, even if you don't have a free hand or are not adjacent to the target. I love that. Like, you knock them over from range. Photon attuned, it does 1d6 fire instead of bludgeoning, and the range is 30 feet. On a critical success, the target also takes 1d6 persistent fire damage. It has an addendum at the bottom for heightening this. Level +4, the damage increases by 1 die. I hope that also pertains to the persistent fire damage. I'm going to guess that it does, because that makes sense to me, but we might need some errata on that. The next solar manifestation you get is Solar Nimbus. It says, a layer of photonic energy surrounds you, overlaying your body or worn armor. This layer of star stuff provides you with protection that works alongside existing armor. It appears as a layer of glowing light or solid darkness depending on your current state of attunement. I just want to interject here. It's not really armor. It just has an extra effect. It's really more like an aura to me. It appears as a layer of glowing light or solid darkness depending on your current state of attunement. The general appearance and shape of the Nimbus is your choice, and could appear as a thin layer of energy or imposing spiked energy armor layered atop your existing equipment. This design has no impact on its function and doesn't provide any additional bonuses. Obviously, it's flavor. It also gives you the Nimbus Surge reaction. It has the attuned and Solarian traits. Trigger, you take damage from a melee attack. Your Nimbus reacts to trauma. Graviton attuned. The triggering creature must succeed at a fortitude save against your class DC or be pushed 5 feet away from you. That's awesome, because then they have to move back up to you. Or Photon attuned, the triggering creature takes fire damage equal to half your level. Round it up. That's not a bad use of a reaction. It'd be funny if you take damage and they die. I kind of love that. Solar weapon is a bit complex. It says, through sheer will, you can call forth a tangible weapon comprised of the essence of stars. When you attune, you can manifest your weapon as part of the action. So basically at the beginning of combat, when you attune for free, you also draw your weapon for free, which is neat. When manifesting your weapon, it appears in a free hand of your choice, unless it has the free hand trait, at which point it can manifest in any hand. Your solar weapon is a martial melee weapon. It deals 1d8 of your choice of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. You can select up to 2 of the following traits for your weapon. Alternatively, you can select the reach trait for your weapon instead of selecting 2 of the following traits. Those traits are disarm, grapple, parry, sweep, versatile, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing only, freehand, non-lethal, shove, and trip. I know, lots of options. I love this. I love that you can customize your weapon. I mean, besides this, you can buy other weapons. Oh, I also want to say that there is essentially a runic equivalent of upgrading this weapon. It's a crystal. It's called a Solarian crystal. So you can give it magical abilities too. That's neat. You can select one of the following weapon groups for your weapon to be a part of: axe, club, hammer, pick, spear, brawling flail, knife, polearm, or sword. I kind of like polearm and, you know, reach, because then you're just moving people around even more, because that's what you do anyway with gravitons. You can change the properties of your solar weapon through the Reforged Solar Weapon activity. This is listed on the next page. Your solar weapon gains additional benefits based on your current attunement. So all that shit was just, you have a weapon made out of pure force. Graviton attuned. When you successfully strike a creature using your solar weapon, that creature treats all squares adjacent to the square where they were struck as being difficult terrain until the end of his next turn. So essentially they can't just step away, they have to move away, and it eats up some of their movement. Photon attuned. When you successfully strike a creature with your solar weapon, you deal an additional amount of fire damage equal to half your level rounded up. I think I prefer that one in most cases, and I think most people will. I'm going to read all of the Solarian feats, but I'm going to tell you that my favorite one is the Solar Shield. So, first Solarian feat, Meditative Analysis. It takes 1 action. It has the Cycle and Solarian traits, so it cycles you into the opposite attunement. You briefly meditate on the nature of your foe and their role in the wider cosmos. Attempt a check to recall knowledge about a creature. If your check is successful, you gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your next strike with a solar weapon against the target this round. If your strike hits, you can choose which attunement benefit you gain for that strike. The subject of your check is temporarily immune to meditative analysis for a day. A day, wow. It's useful, it gives you a bonus to hit, and that's hard to get at first level. Solar Shield. This is probably just the best Solarian first level feat, unless you're going to take twin weapons, because that's a separate feat too. Solar Shield. It has the attuned and manifestation and Solarian traits. Manifestation just means that it affects one of your 3 manifestations: weapon, solar flare, or Nimbus. Your solar manifestations now include the ability to create a small shield of celestial energy. This energy shield does not require a hand to use as it floats near you. You can raise a shield, giving you a +1 circumstance bonus to AC until the start of your next turn. Awesome! While the shield is raised, you can use the shield block reaction with your shield. The shield has 5+, 2 times your level hit points, and no hardness. That part sucks, but it does increase. Your shield can't be broken, but if it's destroyed, you cannot manifest a new shield for 10 minutes. This is just sort of like the shield spell. In fact, you could easily get the shield spell with the ancestries, because some of them give you occult cantrips. Okay, neat. If your shield vanishes due to you losing attunement, when you attune to reform it, the shield returns with however many hit points it previously had. The shield regains all its lost hit points during your daily preparations or whenever you rest for at least 10 minutes, even if it's been destroyed. That's awesome, because then you get it for every fight. Unless your GM's a dick. The shield also has special abilities depending on your attunement, so if you're graviton attuned, your shield has hardness equal to half your level rounded up. Which at first level obviously is 1, but it's still nice. And remember, you are getting the +1 to your AC for using this. This is really a good feat. Photon attuned. If your shield is destroyed, so it still has no hardness, but if your shield is destroyed, adjacent enemies must succeed at a fortitude save against your class DC or be dazzled for a round, meaning they have to roll a 5 to target anyone on a flat check. On a critical failure, they are instead blinded for a round. Cool. It's good. It's good. The solar shield is extremely useful. I guess it could actually be replaced with the shield spell because that actually has hardness. It's a give and take. I think that if I were going to frequently use graviton attuned anyway, then I would just use the shield spell if I had the choice. Because the photon attuned ability is really great, but if I'm almost always in graviton attuned and I had the option to go with the shield spell, I'd go with the shield spell. Because it has increasing hit points and hardness too. And it still has the same limit of 10-minute immunity. Stellar Rush. This is one of those feats that really defines the Solarian. Like, this is uniquely Solarian. Not like summoning a Shield of Force. That's not really. So anyway, Stellar Rush. 2 actions. Level 1 feat. Attuned, cycle, move, Solarian. So as soon as you use this, you cycle to the other attunement, whatever one you was the opposite of what you were in. You rush forward, empowered by your stellar energies, getting into the thick of combat with ease. Stride twice. You gain a plus 10-foot circumstance bonus to your speed during these moves. Graviton attuned. First of all, obviously that's cool. That's like warp step, but better. So it's psychic warp step. Psychic warp step. Graviton attuned. When you finish your strides, enemies within 15 feet of you must attempt a fortitude save against your class DC. On a failure, the foes are pulled directly towards you, ending in an adjacent square if possible. You select the order which foes are moved. So, it doesn't just move them like 5 feet. It moves them the entire distance if they fail that save. And then they're right next to you. So again, this is a melee class. Over and over, it's confirmed this is melee. I wish you could heal yourself, but the shield has basically temporary hit points, so that counts, I guess. Photon attuned. The squares you moved through during your stride are suffused with solar energy until the start of your next turn. Creatures on each side of the squares are concealed from creatures on the opposite side. Creatures in these spaces are unaffected. I think that should be errated because it's a little confusing, and I bet they will. Still, in certain situations, strategically, it can be useful. It's like creating a wall of light at first level. Okay. And finally, the last level 1 feat, Twin Weapons. It has the Attuned Manifestation and Solarian traits. You can manifest a second solar weapon. When you do so, you can choose its trait separately from your first weapon. When you attune, you can choose to manifest both weapons in the same action as long as you have free hands for each. Add the Agile and Twin traits to the list of weapon traits you can apply to your solar weapons. This really seems like a very useful because they have tricky shit they can do. Melee martial. It's very weird to me that it's melee. Because, like, you're using light and fire and gravity, but you need to be really close to people. I think it's fun because it's weird. And you have to keep dancing between your attunements during the fight. I think that the roleplay is going to be more fun than the combat. Because the combat is interesting, especially if you take the ability that lets you strike and fire your little floaty laser at the same time. You can be very useful in melee, but remember that you don't have great... Well, you don't have the best armor either. It seems a little too squishy for me. For someone with at least 2 abilities brings people closer to them. It seems like there should be like an aura, maybe a Nimbus upgrade that makes all enemies around you take damage automatically every turn, instead of just a reaction if they hit you. I don't know. Play it. Tell me what you think about it. It's certainly interesting and flavorful. I will give it that. And I like that it has abilities to manipulate people and move them around. Witch Warper also does moving around, just not with harm to themselves. So that's the Solarian. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate your presence. And if you're a patron, I appreciate you giving me the present of sustaining the channel. It's very helpful for things like making more videos. Anyway, thank you. If you want to see more on Starfinder 2, playlist here. If you want to see more on Player Core 2, playlist here. Okay, thank you. I love you. Bye-bye.